Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's preview, Stormers versus Ulster, the second URC semi-final, a home semi-final for the Stormers. It will happen in Cape Town. Kickoff is at 3 o'clock South African Standard Time. The weather is expected to be very warm, so expect the perfect conditions for the exciting high-tempo running rugby that the Stormers have traditionally played throughout the tournament. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to try and play that during the semi-final, because they are playing against a very, very good Ulster side, which in my opinion, I think are quite underrated. I think if you look at the results, you look at how well they've done this season, I don't think they've actually always had the plaudits that they've deserved. I think we sometimes get a little bit hung up on, the Leinster and Munsters, and we kind of forget how good Ulster really is. And we're now starting to see it really after they absolutely decimated Munster last weekend. And I think that was a massive statement of intent. So the question is, who will be joining either Bulls or Leinster in the final between these two teams? And a massive boost for the Stormers when we look at their team as well. But before we do, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live for both this game as well as the game tonight between Leinster and the Bulls. It should be some fantastic playoff rugby, so make sure you come and join us when we watch. But in terms of the two sides, we'll start with the Stormers side, and you'll see an incredible selection at 12. Damian Valencia, who we had literally had an entire conversation about a day or two ago in terms of who's going to be that Springbok utility back, because his injury was supposedly going to be keeping him out for months, is starting against Ulster. And first of all, I mean, that's an incredible big boost for the Stormers, because he was named in the URC Dream Team. Not sure that was deserved. I think it was a little bit of recency bias. Look, the last 2 months, I think he has probably been the best inside centre in the competition. He's been phenomenal for the Stormers for the last couple of weeks and months. But overall in the season, he didn't really play enough for me at 12 anyway. But I do think that he's found his position at 12. I do think that that is where he looks the best. And I think that he's playing with so much confidence. We are starting to see the class of Damian Valencia. My biggest thing is I think there is going to be a question mark. Has he been rushed back? Or have the Stormers almost deliberately held him back in the thinking of, well, if they don't prepare for him and then we release him type thing, that'll be a whole different dimension. Because the whole talk and the entire build-up was Jean de Jong. And, Jean de Jong still has something to offer the Stormers, etc., etc., etc. And it was quite weird then yesterday when Jean de Jong was named in the Currie Cup side. Everybody's sitting there saying, well, who's going to play inside centre for the Stormers? Well, there it is, Damian Valencia. And as long as he hasn't been rushed back, I think it's brilliant. But my worry is that he has been rushed back. He's not 100% fit. And if he were to get injured tomorrow, for example, we then lose him for the Box Series against Wales. And given how he is playing at the moment, I'd really like to have seen him in the number 23 jersey for the first two Box games, and potentially even starting in the third game, maybe even at inside centre, for example, to see what he can do in the international stage. But if you look at the side, it's a very settled side. He is the only change to the starting lineup in place of the injured Rikus Pretorius. Apart from that, it's very consistent. Stephen Kitsoff, JJ Kotzer, France Moherba. JJ Kotzer, for me, blew me away last weekend. It's the best I've ever seen him play. And I thought that and that's the sort of game that you want to see players like JJ Kotzer put up their hands and say, some people might think I'm a bit nebulous, but bang, playoff game, important game, here I am. This is what I'm worth. And I think that he didn't make any mess up at line-out time. He was everywhere in the park. I was very, very impressed with him last weekend. France Moherba, Stephen Kitsoff, we know what to expect from them. They are world-class operators, so we come to expect that. Salman Murat, Marvin Orie are going to have to sort of set the tone, really, from a physical point of view, especially Salman Murat, who is a very, very big athletic player, and I think he needs to have a very big game tomorrow. Marvin Orie will be very much in charge of the lineouts in terms of the set piece. And then this loose trio, Dion Free, Achiba Diamani, Evan Ruiz, are explosive. They really are explosive because they're all very good ball carriers. They're all very mobile around the park. Don't necessarily bring the grunt that somebody like a Junior Pokamela could, for example, but a very dynamic loose trio. And Evan Ruiz, on the back of a man-of-the-match performance, will be looking to try and once again sort of break down the barriers and force his way into Springbok conversations. Hershey Yankees partners, Mani Liebach. Hershey Yankees, I thought, probably also played his best game of the season last weekend. And the best players can turn it on when it counts the most. This is when it counts the most. Let's see if he could do it again this weekend. Leland Zassi, Natle, Warrigaland, all named in the URC Dream Team. All will need to be very good tomorrow night, especially Warrigaland, or tomorrow afternoon, rather. Potentially, every game now is his last game for the Stormers. If they lose tomorrow, he will not play for the Stormers again unless he comes back after his overseas stint. So he wants to go out on a high. And the form he's playing in, again, like in Evan Lewis, it's becoming too hard to ignore. The centre pairing, Damian Valencia is next to Ruan Now. Ruan Now was pretty physical last week, put some very big hits in, and I think those two work quite nicely together because they're quite different sort of players. But Ruan Now with that 7 skill set next to Damian Valencia, who's just pure X factor, and that Willems, Liebach, Kalant sort of axle is just so exciting. Off the bench, Andrew Hugo Fenter, Brock Harris, Nettling for Shield cover the front row. RJ Smith, Ernst van Rijn, and Hama Klaba, all forwards in a 6-2 split. Garland Masimla and the young Sachin Gomazulu on the week that he's just been named in the SA Under-20 squad for their sort of series in Italy. He will once again provide the utility back cover, and I think he'll be probably hoping for a little bit less than a 78-minute or 76-minute or whatever it was run out that he had last week, where he was kind of thrown into the cauldron, but I thought he coped very well. And looked very much the part. So we're excited to see him on the field once again. Then if we look at the Ulster side, it's a good side at the end of the day. It's class, it's international quality in key positions. None other than the 8th man, Dwayne Vermeulen, obviously in front of his old home crowd. Will be under a lot of pressure to perform. But in the front row, Andrew Warwick, Rob Herring, and Tom O'Toole will provide a very stern battle for the likes of Kitsov Kotze and Mal Herber. Alan O'Connor is partnered with Ian Henderson, British and Irish line cat player. I think he's been in 3 tours. Captains the side. He probably will be an international centurion. And then the loose trio of Marcus Rea, Nick Timoney, Dwayne Vermeulen are quite interesting. And what was quite interesting about Dwayne Vermeulen is he was asked about Evan Roos in terms of is he going to be his replacement? And he basically said we're not the same player though. He says that he belongs with the forwards, whereas Evan Roos finds himself, and he's right. So sometimes in the midfield, sometimes more on the wings, for example, he finds himself running around with the backline a lot of the time. Which is sometimes why he's so effective, because you've got somebody like Evan Roos who can sometimes be running in a fly half channel, can be running against a wing, for example. And just in terms of brute force, he's obviously going to always have the upper hand there. So interesting to see how these sort of loose trios quite different in many ways. And just see how they'll operate. John Cooney partners Billy Burns. Billy Burns is a player of confidence. When he's playing well, he's fantastic. He can be a match winner. But if you can get to him, if you can put him off his game nice and early, then sometimes he can have those off days, and they're going to need him to have an off day. 2 wings, Ethan McElroy and Robert Balakoon, and then you've got Stuart McCloskey and James Hume. I quite like that centre pairing. I think James Hume's a very talented player, but I quite like Stuart McCloskey. I think he's quite direct. I think he's quite an exciting runner, and I think he's quite underrated in many ways. And then Stuart Moore is on the bench. I'm sorry, it starts at full back rather. The bench is John Andrew, Eric O'Sullivan, and Gareth Milisinovic. So quite a lot of experience there coming off the bench. Also a lot of experience in Kieran Treadwell, Matty Rea. Then a very exciting selection, the likes of Nathan Doak. I'm a big fan. Ian Madahan and Ben Moxon will cover the rest of the backline. 2 very good sides, as you expect when it comes to a semi-final. Home advantage is for the Stormers. Conditions, I think, also will suit the Stormers. They need to have a go at this Ulster side. It's going to be warm. So try and tie them out. It's not at altitude, but it's still going to be warm. It's still going to be difficult conditions. Just throw everything at them and see if they can cope is the only sort of advice I suppose I could give to the Stormers. But let me know what you think is going to happen down in the comments below. Give me your score predictions. Please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.